Hello everyone, welcome to the program. This is Politics Today, live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimaloe in Abuja. Well, for a second time now, the Nigerian Labour is unhappy with what the federal government is bringing to the table. So when everyone is saying, what are you bringing to the table? What the federal government is bringing to the table is not tenable as far as the organized labor is concerned in the ongoing national minimum wage negotiation, and we'll be hearing from the organized labor tonight. Of course, yesterday we heard their grievances about the electricity tariff, about the national minimum wage, and the plight of Nigerians, and they have threatened that if federal government does not wake up and rise up to its responsibility, they will go to the street, and that is not a threat, it's a fact. The communique that they released yesterday says as much. That was after the NEC meetings of the TUC and the NLC. We'll be hearing more tonight on the stance of the organized labor in respect of the plight of average worker and what they refer to as the standard living wage of a Nigerian worker. We'll be getting all of those insights. Plus, there are a lot of issues coming up. At an event today organized by APC Professional Forum, they're saying, do not blame President Bola Tinubu for the Nigerian economic woes. So who should we blame over the last 1 year? We'll be getting some insight, and of course, some of the issues coming up in the APC and the internal wranglings in that party. Stick around with me, everyone. Let me let you in on some of your major political roundup stories. And one of the leaders, or the leader of the NLC, will be speaking to us right here on the program afterwards.
The House of Representatives has called for an urgent and comprehensive audit of all airport personnel. The decision was raised as a matter of urgent national importance by Honorable Jesse Onuakalusi at a sit-in today. The Reps members also raised an alarm over safety at airports across the country due to alleged employment of incompetent personnel. Raising the matter of urgent national importance, it is asking the Minister of Aviation, Festus Keyamo, to carry out a comprehensive audit of all airport personnel. The House also wants an audit of all contractors engaged in the last year. The faction of the River State House of Assembly, led by Victor Okojumbo, has screened and confirmed 8 commissioner nominees as members of the River State Executive Council. This followed a request by Governor Siminalayi Fubara as part of his ongoing efforts to strengthen his administration. The screening and confirmation marks the second exercise to be conducted under the Okojumbo leadership. And some members of the Labour Party across the 6 area councils of the FCT today stormed the national headquarters of the party, declaring their solidarity and support for the party and the national chairman, Mr. Julius Abure. Present at the rally is the presidential candidate of the party in the 2023 general elections, Mr. Peter Obi, the national chairman of the party, Mr. Julius Abure, and some members of the National Working Committee. Addressing the supporters, Mr. Obi assured them that he will work with the leadership of the party to retain its leadership position in the FCT.
We will be there with you. We'll be there with you. We'll do whatever is possible. We'll make sure that everything is done properly.
A coalition of APC Youth Network is asking the National Working Committee of the All Progressives Congress to take punitive measures against those who are calling for the removal of the national chairman of the party, Abdullahi Ganduje. The group, which says they were earlier misled into believing that the APC National Working Committee was not working for the interest of the party, have now come to see that the party's National Working Committee meant well for the APC, considering the way they handled the primaries in Edo and Ondo State. The Benue State PDP is planning disciplinary actions against its publicity secretary, Mr. Bengba Niotom, after stakeholders led by Professor Nicholas Ada, a former Minister of Foreign Affairs, questioned his support for President Bola Tinubu's 2027 re-election bid. Meanwhile, State Chairman John Mbede has warned against divisive views and stated that the party will address Niotom's actions. President of the Nigeria Bar Association, Mr. Yakubu Mikel, is asking lawyers to lead the fight against money laundering, terrorism financing, and other financial crimes in Nigeria. The NBA president made the call at a workshop jointly organized by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission in Abuja to train lawyers on their roles in the country's anti-corruption war.
It's a rainy day here in Abuja, but well, if it's a cup of coffee that will make you feel warm, because the conversation tonight, some may be uncomfortable, some will be very direct and straight to the heart, but yeah, it's something that we all need to have. Ladies and gentlemen, get your seat and let's get talking. Wherever you may be watching, on your mobile device, on your television, wherever you may be, these are some national issues that need our conversation tonight. Let's get started, everyone. First and foremost, let's begin with what is happened today. The Nigerian Labour Congress and its sister agency, TUC, have for a second time rejected the federal government offer in the ongoing national minimum wage negotiation. It was at first 48,000, and angrily, the organized labor walked out of the negotiation saying the federal government does not have the requisite data to be able to decide on what should be applicable national living wage for the Nigerian worker. And what they brought was to the table was something that got them upset. Now, for this sitting again today, and a few minutes ago, they ended that negotiation. 54,000. That was what the federal government is bringing to the table, compared to 615,000 that Labour was proposing. Yet again, Labour has rejected it. Let's get talking, everyone. I'm being joined by Mr. Joe Ajero, who is the president of the Nigerian Labour Congress. He joins us virtually here in Abuja. Thank you so much, Comrade Ajero, for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Sean.
The last time you inferred that what the federal government brought to the table was noisome. It was something that angered the Nigerian labor. This time around, are you still very angry?
Well, you can see that it's still not substantial compared to what you need to keep a family moving. There are various ways of expressing displeasure on issues. Last time, we told them there was no case submission. And in this matter again, we told them that there's nothing on the table, when they moved to 54. And the state governors were missing in action. So we may be convening tomorrow in the afternoon, giving the governors benefit of doubt to come along so that they won't claim that their hairs were shaved in their absence. So that's why we are continuing negotiation tomorrow.
It's supposed to be a tripartite negotiation forum. Is it that the governors were not, or the representatives of the governors were not properly informed, or why would they miss such an important meeting?
Well, it may be the seriousness they attached to it. Some of them had some representatives at that meeting, but without mandate to commit the governors. It is one thing to be represented, and another thing to give your representatives mandate to represent you. And that is where we are today, to make sure that they are present, or they will be present tomorrow, for us to proceed from where we stop today.
So invariably, the offer of 54,000 naira is coming from the federal government.
Perfect. But you see, in the spirit of tripartism, government is government. And government in this context, especially in a sector that is in the exclusive list, is represented by the federal government, and in particular, the Minister of Labor, who should be the vice chairman of the negotiating committee. So with them there, but we understand, we realize that within them, they may equally have governors and other parties. So the organized private sector where there are organized labor present, federal government present, even governors representative present, but we want to do a holistic job that is all-inclusive.
So in this particular meeting of today, was the Minister of Labor present?
Yeah, she was present.
Okay, so what was her explanation? Because she's supposed to be the vice chairman of that negotiation committee, and she's supposed to be representing the federal government. We're talking about the national minimum wage, and ideally, it is, well, she's supposed to be in the middle in any ways to be able to conciliate between labor, the government, and the workers. But then, in all of this, there should be an explanation on how the federal government arrived at 54,000 naira. What explanation did she give?
Well, those are part of the issue because we didn't go even deep into the kernels of the discussion. Labour has been insisting that they should provide that explanation. Well, she was the person that made the offer on behalf of the federal government, citing that government had been involved in so many projects, including provision of fertilizer and other issues. But you see, we didn't get talking because that offer is neither here or there. So they have not given any justification on what they expect us to do, because we itemized all that we needed. Then we expected them to go into it so that we'll harmonize on something. But they are yet to commence discussion apart from this partial offer.
So what would you say, because the last time you said the federal government was not serious. You said they do not have the kind of data to be able to sit in that kind of negotiation. Do they look serious today? And does the federal government look like they have what it takes to come to the table? Because when we hear that the federal government is not serious in this kind of negotiation that involves the livelihood and the progress of an average worker, one be wondering what exactly is the intention of government to its own people?
Well, saying somebody is not serious on an issue is not an insult. It's just the approach to it. When you don't give serious approach to an issue, the other party may gladly say you are not serious, because it was just like a 2-paragraph whatever. The government is offering 48,000. And we asked, is that all? Because Labour was the first to present, and we itemized it. We are looking at this amount to be for accommodation, this amount to be feeding. We broke it down to even what a plate of food could be, this amount, contrary to even the report of the Bureau of Statistics, where they were talking even 900. We broke it on to even 500, assuming you are going to eat a plate of rice without meat. So all those, but they didn't just say anything, they said 48,000. And we have not seen a negotiation that goes that way. So that's the point of being serious. Probably they will tidy up, come up and give justification to any figure they are mentioning. Because when you give a figure, you do justification to that figure and say, this is why we are doing this. And that is what Labour is still expecting from them. And I know that employers of Labour in the private sector may equally be expecting that.
So there are those who will say, yes, we've heard what some state governments are saying, and some of them are proactive, like Edo State. You were there when the governor of Edo State, Godwin Obaseki, made an announcement of a 70,000 naira increase or in the minimum wage, and which he said that it will commence immediately. And the Lagos governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, has also mentioned the idea of a possible increase to about that same figures, about 70,000 naira. There are some governors who are forward-thinking, who are already making arrangements. And those who look at those figures, 70,000 to 615,000 naira that Labour is bringing to the table, some economists will tell you that 615,000 naira will nearly crash the economy, may cause some kind of inflation, and will have an impact on the economy. And those who say sustainability is going to be a problem. Is Labour worried about all of these dynamics?
Well, when you suppress wage a very long time, those are the kind of things you see. If you look at a country like like Ghana, wage is reviewed annually. And if you do that, you take care of so many other factors, including inflation. Now, by the time you have a suppressed wage for 5 years, and you expect us to be talking 31,000, 32,000, 33,000, it doesn't happen that way. And those are the areas we are looking at. The frequency of review of wages, so that we know where we are going to. It is not enough for you to call it 615. 615 as a country that, exports crude in dollar, amounts to $20, $22. Which country is paying it? Because that is where we brought ourselves. That's where we brought our currency to a very ridiculous level. And then we all need to work on it. And that's why Labour is talking of other variables. We have to look at all those other variables in agreeing on what we are going into. It's not a question of, taking 600 and something now in the next 1 month. 600 and something will not be enough again for you to even buy a bag of rice. That's not what we're talking of. We have to have a holistic approach, holistic view to this, and introduce an element of COLA, cost of living allowance, that will be able to take, care of some levels of inflation as they come. So if we have that, and then reduce the number of the years of review of a minimum wage, then we can achieve something substantial. Or not to leave wage to be suppressed for 5 solid years, and you are saying that 600 and something is much. It's not much.
But the question that some people will have is sustainability. But now, if you look at the figures that the federal government is bringing to the table with your experience in negotiation and having this kind of conversation, it looks a far cry from what you are proposing, 615,000 naira. What is the worst case scenario, Mr. Ajero?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't know what constitutes the worst case scenario from the part of government. Labour has said we can come down in certain variables like inflation, period of review, the issue of foreign currency and the value of the naira is checked. The issue of constant tariff increases, the issue of working on maybe CNG and the issue of subsidy on PMS and other issues. We have to take these things together. If we look at them, we can now determine where we are coming down to. But if these things remain open, it then means even if we get 650, it would be so vulnerable that it would be useless. So we have to look at all these issues. It's not just banding figures, take 40, take 48, take 54. What are those things that will make this 54, assuming we are paying it, to be valuable, to be meaningful? And like I said before, 54,000 of any currency is a big money, but not when everything is running, with such a speed.
So I'd like to ask you, in all of this, there are those who will say, is Labour holding the government accountable? Because if the government is saying, tighten your belt, everyone, we do not have that kind of money. Well, NNPC is already saying that we're growing our capacity to refine or to explore more amount of oil, and we're going higher in terms of the quantity per day of the barrels of oil, which is better than before. That means that more money, and we're seeing more money also since the removal of oil subsidy that goes into the state every month. So one thing is fundamental. Well, tighten your belt. But those who are saying government is not responsible enough to show example that belt should be tightened, asking citizens to tighten their belt, but it has not shown in the lives and the manner in which the government is running its own affairs. Are you able to hold government accountable on the issue of the cost of governance? Because where we find ourselves today, there are those who will say it is the irresponsibility of those who have governed this country for the past years, bad leadership, and in a way that they have irrationally mortgaged the future of this country in terms of the way they have handled the resources of this country. Are you able to hold the government accountable in the area of cost of governance?
Well, this issue has been recurring, even after the constitution of the current national executive of the President Tinubu's government. We met with him and we complained. And I'm talking of meeting with him, not just letters. And, we said this issue of how many ministers, how many SAs to SAs. And I think maybe he jokingly retorted, well, that I'm creating more jobs, getting more jobs. And we say, no, this one has, its own implication to the economy. We raised it. The issue of even refining locally, which is on the front burner. The issue of almost all activities, the wastage, even when they started buying vehicles at almost 160-something million, for legislators. We raised the alarm, on and on and on. Who have been doing that? But like when the issue of subsidy was removed, they said go and negotiate wages. And that's the point where we are now, the point of negotiating wages. And then all manner of analysis are coming up. How wage negotiated will create inflation, how it will destroy economy. An economy that's, almost destroyed. The economy of the worker is totally destroyed. In fact, the worker doesn't have any economy. So I think there are two economies in the country, the economy of the bourgeois and the economy of the workers. So we have to harmonize this so that we can have a meeting point.
So, and that leads me to that meeting point that you will be talking about. And it takes me to asking about your thinking about AZOPA, meaning that your zone of possible agreement. What is your zone of possible agreement?
Yeah, you have asked this question in various forms, as, what is maybe our irreducible minimum from what you are asking. But I have equally responded to you, that is not a question of saying 500, 400, that it has to take other variables, for us to arrive at something. We can't continue to bandy figures, 400, 500. We can say, okay, if we are paying 400, this must be checked, this must be checked. The value of the currency must be at this, the inflation must be at this digit. And then we can now agree on what fits us. And then you have to equally take into consideration, food inflation, take into consideration all other variables. And then we achieve at a point. It's not something that is just pronounced that way. Wage is not supposed to be arrived at that for the fun of, playing with figures. There are other things that must be taken into consideration for you to arrive at a figure. And when you do that, it makes sense. It makes it sustainable. The fact that you call it 800 or 700 does not make it sustainable. The fact that even you call it 30,000 does not make it sustainable. There has to be other contributions in the economy, that will make it sustainable, that will make it valuable to the worker, that will make it, lasting.
Let me ask you quickly. In 9 to 10 days, your ultimatum to the federal government will elapse. You have threatened that you will go to the street and protest, and you will take action if the federal government fail in its bid to meet your demands, and you listed all the demands, which include reversal of electricity tariff, which also includes the issues of the minimum wage. With the timeline that you have, do you see the federal government being able to meet up in all of these demands?
Well, the minimum wage, old minimum wage, expired by 18th of April. And for 5 years, ordinarily, the federal government was supposed to start a process of reviewing wages 6 months before this time. It didn't happen. And we have had experience in the past where after negotiation, we're talking of arrears. The issue of commencement date of new wage continues to be distorted. And when people are given ultimatum that this thing must be concluded within this period, it was based on the fact that as of today in Nigeria, there's no minimum wage, by law. And then we should have concluded this for a new minimum wage to come into force. And you realize also that after this agreement and the drafting of the new minimum wage act, it has to go to National Assembly for legislation. And these are roots, and I bet you, if not for the way we start to pursue this, people may not even tell you that we need to review the minimum wage till the end of this year. So we meant every word we used, because we knew that Nigeria had no business, staying till the end of the old minimum wage, which lasted for 5 years, without showing any seriousness and commitment to it. And Nigerian workers, will speak at the appropriate time on this issue, whether this is the best way to go.
Mr. Ajaero, before I allow you, because I know you look very tired, I literally pleaded with you to get this interview done because Nigerian people need to know what really transpired today. I know you look very tired, but before I allow you to go, Mr. Ajaero, let me get your reaction. The Tinubu government will be 1 year in another few days, and there's been a lot of assessment. One of the assessments today is that you cannot blame the Bola Tinubu government for the economic challenges or the economic woes of Nigeria. It's coming from a former governor, Issa Yuguda. And at that forum, they said you cannot blame, and the indices are there to show that the Tinubu government cannot be blamed, and they're doing their best, and we're on the right path. That is according to their own analysis and assessment. In your view, as a leader of Labour, do you agree?
Well, I think the problem of this country, you can't pick it within 1 year. It started and has been declining up to today. Nobody will do an honest assessment by saying that it is this government. No, that would be wrong. It is growing cumulatively. But the essence of having another government in place is to correct the ills of the past. And I think that's on the premise at which people are saying that the Tinubu government, are the people sitting down there now. So they are the people we are seeing. They are the people we know. But let me say this. The rate at which inflation, the rate at which the value of the naira, the rate at which the PMS which we are buying, skyrocketed within this 1 year, this causes alarm. And I think that is what people are saying. So we need to, stabilize this for people to move on and to renew confidence. I need to stop here because that's where it affects labor. If we are buying a liter of PMS at 180 or 185, and within 1 year, we are buying it at 700 or thereabout. Now, and then with the same wage being constant, no worker will clap for you for this.
Mr. Joe Ajaero is the president of the Nigerian Labour Congress. Thank you so much for the update and insight you're giving us on the negotiation. I plead with you that as this goes on, please make it a day with us as soon as you have more information in your negotiation so that the Nigerian people and the Nigerian workers can be carried along. Thank you so much indeed. I appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you, Sean. Bless you.
Well, Ismail Ahmed is the chieftain of the All Progressive Congress, APC. Well, he was the very first national youth leader of the APC. And of course, something is happening in his home state of Kano. There is trouble in his home state of Kano in the APC. What is going to happen in that party? Now, the assessment of the President Tinubu is ongoing. And those are these issues that we shall be discussing. But we take a break. After now, Ismail Ahmed will be joining me next. Stay with us, everyone. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. And let's get into the politics of the APC and, of course, talking about President Bola Tinubu and the last 1 year. A former governor of Bauchi State and chairman of the Board of Trustees of the APC Professional Forum, Mr. Issa Yuguda, has exonerated President Bola Tinubu from being responsible from the present economic plight being suffered by Nigerians at an event in the first edition of the Policy Roundtable of the Ashiwaju Scorecard series organized by the forum here in Abuja. He was berating the opposition elements, and the former Minister of Aviation argued that it took the ingenuity of Tinubu to get the country's economy still standing. Take a listen to him.
For the history of currency falls, we are aware of those that happened in the Great Depressions in the 30s and just before the Second World War. And of course, we knew the reasons, and they are very similar to what we experienced. By the time Mr. President took over, the debt sustainability ratio was about 97%. So you can imagine every month your revenue, 97% of it goes to debt service. The rest is... So I'm just trying to underscore the importance of Nigerians to know why, and of course, how difficult it was for Mr. President to take off his government.
In the next few days, the Students' Loan Fund will become operational, and Nigerian youth will now have easier access to higher education, irrespective of tribe, religion, or geographical location or godfather. On power, I have observed the increased transmission capacity of the country that now peaks at 14,000 megawatts.
Let's get Ismail Ahmed to talk to us on some of these issues. Thank you so much, Ismail, for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
When your party and leaders in your party say, don't blame Bola Tinubu for the economic challenges, do you agree to that kind of stance? And you heard what Issa Yuguda said.
Well, I agree to a large extent, Sheon, because like the last speaker said, I mean the president of NLC, I think it will be unfair, to blame any one government at a particular point in time about the woes, the economic woes. I think it has been issues that have, been perennial for quite some time, and they have kind of accumulated over the course of several decades. There has been a series of bad decisions and opportunities that were left, untaken or untapped for so long by so many other administrations before this. I think what this administration or this president is facing is he made a decision, and I know that for a fact because, for a couple of times I've spoken to him during the campaign, and I know he used to say that some of the most difficult decisions that have to be taken by any administration must be taken within the first year of its, incumbency, because those are the time, that is the time where usually governments enjoy a certain honeymoon that they need to take certain hard decisions to correct. There are so many realignment and corrections that need to be taken in the Nigerian economy, and realignments and corrections, everybody knows, are not easy and they are not painless. So I would agree that the president or the administration in its entirety is not to blame. I can see why a lot of people would see that these hard decisions could have been tactically taken at different times, to ease the pain for the common man. But they are decisions that needed to be taken because during the campaign, we've heard all the candidates, of all the major political parties say basically the same thing. They're going to take away the subsidy. They're going to take away unified exchange rate. People cannot be subsidizing the dollar. The government cannot be subsidizing the dollar for a lot of people. What used to be in force was you could apply for a license for a BDC, for Bureau de Change, for example, pay your 35 million naira to CBN, have them hold it for you for about 3 to 6 months, return it back to you, and basically be giving you'll be bidding for foreign exchange, and you'll be given every week. They had the foreign reserve, the buffer to do that. So basically, CBN was giving people free money to be able to sell and just make the change and pocket the difference. So all these decisions were taken, and the president believed that they needed to be taken, and he took it from day one in office. And, yes, they are not easy to swallow, but he is not to be blamed. I agree.
This is not a blame game in the sense that it involves the lives and livelihoods of people, the real people that are impacted, which can determine whether they live or they die. Because these policies actually determine the lives of real Nigerians. So the question is that I'm not sure those who voted President Tinubu were actually looking for who to hold responsible. They're looking for someone who said, I can do it. But now not doing it, can you exonerate yourself from saying, yes, I'm trying to do it, but I'm not getting, but you cannot blame me? Is that fair to those who voted the president into office?
But I can do what? I think he is actually, He said that he was going to take off subsidy. He said he was going to unify the exchange. Those are promises he made on the campaign trail.
The question
you
is
followed us on those campaign trails.
Absolutely.
He said
but
those
the question
things.
is that, I mean, when the opportunity to port your lines came in a competitive telecoms environment, and you can actually move from one telecom operator to another, when you try it and you see that it's not working, you move to another. It tells you that that's an example of the variation in the choice Nigerians had, and that those who will say they are disappointed. For example, I had a guest a few days ago who says most of the economists on the President Bola Tinubu government are more or less tax collectors because they are levying and boarding Nigerians and collecting more from Nigerians. He said the renewed hope is more like renewed hopelessness. These are the assessment of those who think that this president, in terms of economy, has done woefully.
Have you ever heard of at any time in the history of the world that there has been a leader, both political, religious, anyone, that some people do not criticize? People would criticize. It's a free country. We're in a democracy. People would say what they feel, and they have the right to do so. And some of their arguments may be valid. You may have counter to some of those arguments. What I'm trying to say is, you are asking whether the president should be blamed for the economic woes of the country. And I agree that he should not be blamed. I'm saying that, yes, decisions have been taken over the course of several decades in this country by previous administrations that has led us to this. This president realized that, look, there are certain difficult decisions that has to be made. Now, there is a reason why they are called difficult decisions. There are reasons why they are called painful decisions.
Who should we blame?
These are being, what?
Who should we blame if you are not blaming Bola Tinubu?
No, why do we need to blame someone? Because blaming is not solving the problem. Okay, so what? So if you get someone
who
to blame,
should we hold accountable?
No, for example, holding accountable, the government in power must be held accountable. That's holding accountable is completely different from blaming. You know, if you're looking for someone to blame for your lot in life, so what does that do if you blame that person? So I give you a scapegoat, you keep blaming him. So what else after that? Does it solve your problem? No, it doesn't solve your problem.
He said he asked for the job.
No, you
he
need someone
that he needs to do it. Your party went and told Nigerians.
You are talking.
Did your party lie to Nigerians about your capacity and ability to do the job?
You are talking as if the president is apologizing for the decision he has made. He has never apologized for it.
But the Nigerian people are suffering for it.
No, it is a painful decisions have been made, but they are needed to be made.
For how long?
What do you mean for how long?
For how long?
No, I don't know for how long. I'm not an economist. I can't tell you for how long, but I do know for a fact that bad decisions that have taken by previous administrations and previous governments, be it military juntas or some other military and civilian administration that had passed, decisions that have been deferred because some leaders were too cowardly to take some of those difficult decisions because of the popular reaction, were left by a certain leader that would come at some point in the life of this administration to take those decisions. Now, you can argue, and this is what maybe I might subscribe to, you can argue the tacticality of taking those decisions, whether one should come after the other, whether for each one decision that comes, there should be other things that should come along with it in terms of soccer, whatever. That's an argument that you can have. But to say that, that we are ducking our heads in the clouds, or as if we are behaving as if we didn't make those promises that we are going to take off this subsidy.
Your party's hands are on the plow. Your party's hand on a plow. You requested for the job.
And we take responsibility.
I remember in the campaign when your party defeated Jonathan, and you blamed Jonathan for the rot. So that's what the Buhari government did. And they blamed Jonathan. You literally took air out of that government to win the election.
We blame PDP.
Even for now?
No, we blame PDP. We blamed Jonathan particularly for not believing in the Chibok girls' abduction. But we blame PDP for maladministration of this country. But what particularly happened under Jonathan that we keep harping on was that it was the Chibok girls' abduction, and which we believe that the government at that time didn't even believe the abduction actually took place. So those were the things we actually particularly blame Jonathan for.
So can we also
in terms of maladministration, we blame the whole of the PDP, including the administration.
Would you agree tonight, Ismail, that there is a maladministration?
Just like President Obasanjo blamed the military junta when he came into office.
Would you agree, Ismail, I mean, if you're pragmatic tonight, that there is a maladministration in your party's governance today, considering the indices and the economic indices that we see today. Take, for example, inflation figure today is above 33%.
I agree
would
with
you agree food inflation?
I would agree with you that some of the hard decisions that we have taken have caused significant discomfort in families of Nigerians.
Isn't that maladministration?
It's not maladministration.
What is a maladministration?
You know, if you go to an infirmary, for example, and you needed a certain, dislocation fixed, you do know that there would be discomfort in fixing that dislocation. You know that for a fact, and the doctor will tell you that it's going to be painful. If he's going to inject you with a needle, he's going to tell you this is going to be painful. You just have to be patient for it. We never at any point in time deceived ourselves that this was going to be easy, or it was going to be painless, or it was going to be nice and rosy in the first 1 year. Yes, there's so many people, even within the party, they are like, okay, are we taking in these hard decisions too many at one time? Are we taking one hit too many, each one taking us a bit closer to the breaking point? People are suffering in multitudes, and they have been for a long time. But decisions needed to be made.
How can Nigerian people trust your government that it can deliver on what they said? Even 1 year they are suffering this much.
No,
what do you want to tell them to make them think that these sufferings will go on for the next 3 years?
No, who said it's going to go on for the next 3 years?
No, because it's only what you see today that you can use to calculate the future.
No, that's not true. That's not how government works. That's not how life works. The fact that you are wearing a suit now doesn't mean you're wearing a suit tomorrow. You probably will see you in kaftan. Doesn't change anything. So what I'm saying is, what is going on right now is that decisions were taken. Those are hard decisions. None of these decisions was not promised during the campaign, not only by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, but other candidates as well. All of them said the same thing. All of them had flowery speeches in their campaign stamps about how they are going to take away the subsidy from petroleum products, and how they are going to unify the exchange rate, how the elites are being subsidized because they go shopping, and how they say all these things. Now, but right now we are in a situation where things need to realign. The president has taken hard decisions. It's discomforting. We are all feeling it. We are all feeling the pinch. Nobody is immune to that, as far as I know, within my circle. But this, I wouldn't say the president is to be blamed for. But you know me, Sheun, if there are things that I believe directly that we have deliberately sidestepped or did not do right, I will tell you. I'm not going to mince my words.
Let's take a breather. The storm and the cloud is gathering, Ismail, against your party. Oppositions are coming together, and these forces are actually preparing to remove your party from prominence in the next election, and the planning is coming so early. And the fact that there is trouble within your party, I'd like to know what your views are, because we need to take a break, everyone. But when we come back, we'll be hearing from Ismail Ahmed whether there is an implosion within the APC, and this gathering storm that we're seeing, will he actually storm out APC from prominence? We'll be finding out after this break. Join us again. Thank you so much, everyone. Welcome back to the conversation. Ismail Ahmed is a leader in the APC. He's been speaking with us on the program. Thank you so much, Ismail, for your time tonight.
Thank you.
You heard that is what is happening in the opposition, and it does look that there are political leaders in this country who are coming together who think that in 2027, there will be some kind of tsunami politically to upstage your party from prominence.
Well, that is the job of opposition, isn't it? The job of the opposition is to always threaten to take away government from the party in power. So that's not surprising. I don't know why that is a big deal. You know, it's not. In fact, as a government, as a party in office, we would relish, you know, the possibility of a very strong opposition to keep us on our toes and actually do democracy the way it should be done. Not all this
with the way your party is
around.
Running government, you think that your party can withstand the storm, a strong political opposition in 2027?
Ultimately, you know, Nigerians would make a decision based on what they know of the people who are running for particular offices at every point in time. Not not all these photo ops that we see. So I'm not concerned about it. It's something that I look forward to a very meaningful opposition, because we haven't seen that since we got into office. We were the last bastion of opposition that was really at the forefront of doing its work from 2011 all the way to 2015, and we took over power with strategic alliances and doing our work very well. Since we got into office, so I don't think we've seen
Let me
much of
on what is happening within your party. There is trouble. You are from Kano State.
Yes.
What is going on? There is a battle. There is a strong opposition against your party at the national level, coming from your state, and all of those local politics is also targeted at one thing, isn't it? And what could that be?
I'm actually confused. What trouble you are talking about? What trouble is going on in Kano, in APC Kano?
Did you see the amendment to some of the laws in Kano State? Did you see what is happening in terms of allegation of corruption against your national chairman? Did you see all of those politics?
No, hold on. If you are talking about you said there was a problem within the APC in Kano. We don't have a problem within the APC in Kano.
I'm saying that the storm is coming from the Kano. Yes, within your party, there are those also who are calling for the head of some members of the NWC.
You see, an opposition party took over power in Kano, and let's not kid ourselves. It was not a friendly opposition. It was a battle to the last minute. We went all the way to the Supreme Court. This same thing almost happened in 2019 when Dr. Abdullah Umar Ganduje was running for his second term, and it was the Supreme Court that separated us in the first place. So there is a bitter rivalry, bitter one, of course, between the camp of Dr. Abdullah Umar Ganduje and the camp of the former governor of Kano State, Dr. Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso. I mean, that is not a secret, right? And the NNPP was created more or less, was given life more or less to take over power in Kano much more than anything else. So whatever is happening from that camp should not surprise any politician, because of course they would spare nothing to make sure that they go after who they consider a political adversary. So I don't see it. I'm not surprised at all. But we don't have a problem within the APC family, either in Kano or at the national level. We don't have that problem.
I love the way you created a defense as though there is really no storm. We don't have time again. We're totally out of time. But thank you so much. It's always a pleasure having you, Ismail.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much indeed for your time tonight.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, we close the program tonight, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'm sure I'll see you tomorrow at 7 p.m. God bless Nigeria.